Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Moonee Valley Voices podcast, a podcast where we shine a light on great locals doing amazing things in our community. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Natalie Piscopo, Director of VCJ Recruitment and Disability Network Coordinator at CoCo Support Services. Natalie's got a lot of great experience in the NDIS space, and I thought it's a great opportunity to have a chat about NDIS services in general and what Nat's up to in that space, because it is an issue that affects a lot of people in the Moonee Valley. So Nat, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Matt.
Yeah, perfect.
Very excited
So
to be here.
I know you've moved around a bit in your life and you've
Yeah.
recently sort of just moved back into the area. Do you want to
Yeah.
just maybe start by giving us a little bit of a background on your career and what's brought you back to Melbourne?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Matt. So where to begin? Oh my gosh. So very early in the piece, I finished year 12 and I really didn't want to study anymore. I just wanted to travel the world and make money. So that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
So I worked and I traveled, and then I just got to a point where I'm like, I should probably, have a look at what's out there for me. And I applied for a recruitment job.
Okay.
I was 21 or 22.
Yeah.
And I went in for the interview, and I actually didn't get the job there and then. Then I got a call back from the manager. The lady that they hired fell through, so they gave me a shot. And lo and behold, I was actually really, really good at it.
Yeah.
My dad always said to me growing up, I could sell ice to the Eskimos. And being a recruiter, you really need to know how to sell, but you need to be good at building relationships with people, listening, understanding. And long story short, I started my career there in labour hire, very blue collar.
Yeah.
In my 20s, managing about 150 guys in warehouses, really had to find my voice at a really early age. Always worked around the west and the northwest. Most of my clients were in the industrial areas around here.
Yeah.
Then I moved more into the telco space. I was doing a lot of work with NBN. And then from there, I even moved into tech.
Yeah.
So I was dealing with a lot of tech companies as well. And then I had my son, maternity leave, all the rest. And in that time, I loved what I was doing. I loved recruitment. I loved helping people. There was something in me that always just wanted to help people. And although I was helping people in those sectors, there was always something missing. And an opportunity presented itself. A girlfriend of mine opened up an allied health clinic in the area, not far. And she's like, Nat, I've got this great idea, but I don't know how to find people. So I started advertising for her for speech pathologists, occupational therapists and things like that. And it was just kind of after the pandemic, there was a real shortage.
Yeah.
And the health sector, like construction, a lot of sectors really suffered with people not being able to come in from overseas, people not being able to graduate their studies. Yeah. It got quite hard. And anyway, I started advertising for them and it just blew up overnight. And now I found what I was looking for in allied health and disability services. I not only get to help amazing people in the health sector find work, but the flow-on effect, the children, the families, being a mum myself, and having had to utilise these services to be part of it, it's really beautiful for me. Yeah. And I really get to make a difference. Yeah. So that's kind of how it all, there's a lot more to it, but that's how it started.
I imagine recruitment in the allied health space is fairly different to like what you started off in blue collar, more corporate stuff. What are the differences that you found, and why do you think it's a perfect fit for you?
The thing is with recruitment, Matt, the same principle applies whether it is telco, construction, health. You need to treat people a certain way. You need to take the time to understand people and understand the business that's hiring. Yeah. The reason why I think I love it so much is because you can be you in this space. You don't have to put on a suit, although I do like to put on a suit, but you don't have to go in and pretend to be all of these things. Yeah. You can just show up as you are and use your own personal experiences within health to as an example, like you can use yourself as an example.
Yeah.
I've had a very interesting journey, let's just say that, it's not all been smooth sailing for me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to lose a lot to get where I am now.
Yeah.
And because of that, and because of the adversity I've faced with my own health and my own struggles, I fit perfectly in this sector because I know life ain't perfect and life is hard.
Yeah.
And when you're around good people doing good things and wanting to make a difference, it's going to happen.
Yeah. And in terms of some of maybe the local, I know you mentioned the idea sort of started with someone who had a local practice in the area.
Yeah.
What sort of businesses have you been working with in Moonee Valley?
Yeah, so there's a couple of NDIS businesses that I've been working with around here.
Yeah.
One really, and I'll give them a plug actually, that I do so much work with.
Yeah.
They're called Care Hub. They're in Hadfield, Essendon area.
Yep.
And they service they're an NDIS registered provider, and they service children and adults with disabilities all across the Moonee Valley area.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for support in that space, they do psychology, behaviour support, speech pathology, and OT.
Yep, amazing. I mean, the NDI space is so. I mean, I was looking into some stats before you came on, and I think that the last numbers I could get were from 2018, but at that time there were 18,000 people living with a disability in Moonee Valley, which is approximately 14.5% of the population.
It's massive.
And I know from dealing with or talking to people who have either tried to use the NDIS or are using the NDIS, like wait times are long. It's obviously an amazing program that we do have, but it's probably just not enough of it. Like, what's your sort of interaction with that system been?
So what I've learned, so I guess just to give people a bit of context, besides my recruitment business, VCJ Recruitment, I actually work with another two people, and we have a business called CoCo Support Services, and they are NDIS provider in Geelong and Wangaratta. We offer respite and supported independent living. So I do work in it, like very, very deeply in it. But what I have noticed with my clients in the West, there's just a shortage everywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's waiting lists everywhere because there's not enough clinicians out there. Not enough clinicians can graduate fast enough to meet the needs. And the NDIS is a fantastic program. People are getting funding. But it just seems to be that barrier there of getting the funding, but then being able to access the services.
Yeah. And
I have noticed in the area there are a lot more new businesses getting started, but some businesses are doing things the wrong way too. Like they're acting out of desperation in terms of recruitment.
Yeah.
So people will be in a rush to fill a role and they'll just hire any speech pathologist and any OT. And that can be a detriment, They might not be doing that company any justice, but that company is being forced to hire them because there is such a need. And that's why, people like me come in.
Yeah, it's something like it's a hard one, isn't it? Because there is a demand, there's a rush to fill these roles.
Yeah.
But I mean, what we're dealing with here is people who are really in need and they really need
vulnerable.
They need top quality support.
Yeah.
And when you have this underservicing of this demographic, I guess there's a danger that not the right people are looking after
them. And that's what's happening.
So how for people trying to navigate the system, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you saying it's sort of getting the funding and getting your plans approved is one thing, but finding the right provider is
another thing. Right? Is another thing, and there's some amazing organisations that can help you find the right services for you and your family.
Yeah.
There's some amazing organisations around here that can help, and there's Health Providers Assist and organisations that you can go to. Tell them what the person's needs are in your family, whether it's a husband, a wife, a child, and just really kind of get a better understanding as to what you need as a family. But then on the flip side, you've got the business side of it, and businesses what businesses need to do, I think, especially when they're first starting out, is kind of understand because recruitment and all these things come at a cost.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that they can do themselves, a lot of free things that they can do. So I run a lot of workshops on, as a business, okay, I can't afford to pay a recruiter fee.
Yeah.
I'm a new NDIS business, or I'm a medium-sized NDIS business, but, there's free features on LinkedIn you can use. There's free advertising you can use. There's Facebook groups. There's social media.
Yeah.
And that's really effective.
Yeah. And, for I guess those that maybe haven't quite navigated the system yet, there's always a few things that come up, even in my work when I've done like either copywriting or some sort of work with NDIS providers, the difference between managed and self-managed.
Yeah.
Can you maybe delve into that a bit for me?
When it comes to being plan managed or self-managed, that's a discussion that needs to probably be had with a support coordinator.
Sure.
So the first point, when you receive your plan from the NDIS, accessing a support coordinator is the most important thing, just so you can kind of navigate what the right path is to go down. I'm probably not in a position where I can say this is the best for you, because I provide a service that is mentioned in your plan. Do you know what I mean? So a support coordinator is always the best one to speak to. Absolutely.
100%. And in terms of when you're in the process of choosing the right provider for you and for your plan, again, I know you deal more on the recruitment side of things, but even when you're working with business, what are some of the things that you look for to know that you're dealing with a really reputable business with good operators? Because like we say, there is a lot of demand in this space, and people see it as an opportunistic thing as well. Like, how do you sort the good providers from the not so good?
Do your research. Where have they come from? This is a big one, because you would know, Matt, when there's a big government initiative, something like the NDIS, billions of dollars, you're always going to get a bunch of cowboys in there. You are. There's going to be amazing people trying to make a difference. But on the flip side, you're going to get in. There's going to be providers in there that are trying to make a buck. And everyone knows it. Let's not pretend it's not happening. Do your research. When you're meeting with these providers, before you started your NDIS business, what were you doing? Were you a butcher? Were you a butcher? Or were you, have you come from the health space? The best providers I have dealt with, and it's not because I'm like yay for the ladies, and I am yay for the ladies. But and I'm always supporting women in business. But the mothers that have children and family members that have a disability, and I work with them, the need, their why and their reason for starting their business is so strong,
like pure
and real, know. Ask the questions. Why are you here? Why did you start your business? A lot of people you'll find have come from, they either have a psychology background or, someone in the business comes from allied health, comes from health, comes from the sector. That's just my personal opinion, and that's what I'd be looking for. If I'm dealing with people that have, and I mean, it's always okay to change your career, but I'm trusting you with my children. I'm trusting you with my family. I want to know that you know what you're doing.
Talking about.
Absolutely. And it's up to the family and up to the individual to ask these questions, because they're not going to tell you. Simple as
you
that.
gotta
they might.
You gotta probe.
You gotta probe.
Probe. And
absolutely
really get to the bottom of why they're doing what they're doing.
Absolutely.
So obviously you already mentioned Care Hub as one of the great local businesses that you work with, but maybe can you give us some of the other services that are helping people in the Moonee Valley that deserve a shout out?
Definitely. So you've got Care Hub, which I mentioned. You've got Therapy Talks.
Yep.
Therapy Talks offers speech pathology in the West and the North. They do a lot of school readiness as well, which is amazing.
Yep.
Your Journey Therapy, again, do a lot of work in the Northwest, generally pediatric to teen. You've got RM Therapy. Rana, shout out. She's an amazing behaviour support practitioner. And she has an amazing team of psychologists and behaviour support practitioners that work all across the Moonee Valley area as well.
No, fantastic. And in terms of the services that are most in demand and perhaps most under under supported or we need more of, what sort of practitioners are seem to be most in demand at the moment?
Most in demand will be speech pathologists and occupational therapists.
Yep.
The most.
Yep.
There's just such a need. There's just such a need. They're the two that probably have the most waiting lists that I've seen in my experience with my clients.
Yep. And they obviously, is there a lot of that school readiness stuff in that, like kids getting ready for school?
Yeah.
Early intervention type stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the speech pathologists and OTs have a big part to play in that school readiness stuff. Absolutely.
All right. So anyone studying, if you're looking for
secure. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I work with a lot of students.
Okay.
So I think a really good thing to mention here as well is in the area, a lot of these organisations I just mentioned and others are always willing to take on third and fourth year students, you know. There's no better way to get experience. And if there is anyone listening that is in the midst of their studies or looking for a career path, there's never going to be a shortage of work there.
Yeah. So and I think that's a big component of studies in this space, isn't it? Like third, fourth year students typically need to have hands-on experience.
Yep.
Right. Cool. So what else? We've obviously you've recently moved back into the sort of Moonee Valley area or surrounds.
Yeah.
What have you really loved about getting back into this community?
Oh well, my family's all here.
Yeah.
So that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
You know, and being someone that runs two businesses and being a mother myself, being close to family is very, very important to me. And I'm closer to all of my clients. So I was living in Geelong and recently, I'm originally from this area, moved to Geelong 4 years ago and came back at the beginning of the year. It's been very, what's the word? Like it's just been very heartwarming to be close to all of my clients again. And because we're doing a lot of Zooms, a lot of phone calls and you miss that personal touch. And, you know, nothing is more powerful than face-to-face interaction, you know, and even being able to interview people face-to-face. Not that I wasn't doing it then. Because I've always travel a lot for work and I do a lot of work in New South Wales and Queensland as well.
Sure.
But being back in Melbourne, just being close to everyone and all the businesses I love working with. And, you know, all the businesses here really believed in me early in my career. And really early, and they gave me a shot when I started my business. You know, so like the love I have for them, like, yes, we have a very professional relationship, but we are more like family, you know, and they trust me, I trust them, and they referred me on to so many other businesses. It's just been awesome to be back and, you know, just be able to give them even more help.
Yeah. And with the allied health services in the area that might be looking to add to their team or not sure how to go about, you know, turning it from a one-person operation into something that involves multiple people, what's the sort of approach to that look like with you? How do you help those businesses navigate that path? Because
absolutely.
It's tricky.
It is because you don't know what works. Well, what works for one business is not going to work for another business. And listen, Matt, you know, recruiters get a really bad rap because in this day and age, like I've been working in this space for almost 20 years, like as a recruiter. These days, I feel like businesses can be very transactional. All they care about is getting a role filled, getting a bum on a seat and getting paid. And what actually tears me apart is that I know what the big recruiters charge out there. And I don't understand how an organisation can charge a business that's been operating for 20 years that's making millions of dollars in profit a year the same as a new business. So what I do is I work with businesses. I understand where the business is at. What are you generating? What's your business model? What's happening? And then we work back from there. What do you need? What's the progression? You know, I create a plan for an organisation in terms of people management. In the first 12 months, I want to generate X amount of money. This is what I'm thinking. An employee might not be the way to go. Maybe you just need to engage subcontractors in the beginning. Feel out the area.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's all dependent on the area that your business is in, the geographic space you're covering versus what people you're bringing in and how much you can spend. Do you know what I mean? So I work with you, I sit with you, I understand your business. Like, yes, we all need to make money. We're all in business, but I want to build a relationship with you. And we might not actually do any business for there's some clients, like we literally were just having lunch and coffees and they were starting out and, it took us 2 years before we made our first placement.
Yeah.
But that's what it takes.
Yeah.
And this is what I feel like this generation of recruiters and people in HR don't understand. Like, they're just thinking about now. They're not thinking about long term.
Yeah.
So when I'm working with people, I want to see you grow. Like, I've been where you've been.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I want to understand where you're going, what you're doing, what works well for your business. I've worked with businesses that only hire subcontractors.
Yeah.
I work with businesses that refuse and only hire employees.
Yeah.
I work with businesses that hire both.
Yeah.
Because that's what model works for them.
Yeah.
And it's about trial and error.
Yeah.
The way I did things when I first started the business to the way I do things now is completely different. And like I was saying to you before, like VCJ Recruitment started as a recruitment company. Yeah. But now, I'm in the process. This is the first time I've told anyone this. We are rebranding. Yeah. So the new name of the business is StellaFortis Consulting. Yeah. And there's some really big meaning behind that name, which I'll share on all of my socials. Yep. But essentially, I had to move away from the word recruitment because that's not what the business does anymore.
Yeah, and recruitment does have that transactional feel
and it has
to it.
that,
it's not,
and it does, and that's not what I want to be, and it's not who I've ever been. It just the way I structure and model the business and model what I offer my clients depends on where they're at. And I know not a lot of people do that.
Yeah, but you raise a good point. Like for small business owners that are starting out, the idea sometimes of bringing people, like there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that.
Oh my God, absolutely,
you got to make sure everything's, done the right way, pays are done on time, does the cash flow going to work, all this sort of stuff. There's so many thoughts that go through a small business owner's head. And like you say, if you're just thinking about the now, maybe they're not ready now, but that doesn't mean they're not going to.
You'll never be.
Yeah, correct.
That's it. Your business is growing and evolving, and we have to be adaptable. It's not like, I'm going to do it this way, I'm going to do it that way. It has to. The world is changing. Yeah. NDIS, back to the NDIS, perfect example. The changes that the NDIS bring out, and every NDIS provider that is listening to me right now, all I'm going to say is 3rd of October, 2024. Some big changes came through, especially in the respite space. And we've just had to adapt. Yeah. Because there's people out there that need help.
What were the changes? Like, what were the changes?
So, in terms of being able to access, this is just for respite. Yeah. In terms of NDIS participants being able to access respite, our respite CoCo Support Services, we offer a 1-to-1 care model.
Right.
So we didn't offer a 1-to-2 or a 1-to-3 care model. Yeah. So
that's one
person to one support worker. Okay. So 1-to-1.
Yeah.
24/7 support, that's what we did.
Yeah.
But now, due to the changes, new plans and in plan review, people aren't getting approved for 1-to-1 STA, it's called short-term accommodation, respite services. Yeah. So our business took a massive hit. Yeah. So we had to get creative. Yeah. So because of that, it really pushed us into the supported independent living space. Yeah. Because what was generally happening, participants that were accessing our services, their long-term goal was to live independently. Mm-hmm. So it made logical sense for us to get more into the supported independent living space. We still do respite, but now we kind of balance it out a little bit. But yeah, it was hard because people were scared. They didn't understand the change. And because of that, our business took a big hit.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've just had to learn. So now we offer 1-to-2 and 1-to-3.
And I guess any business that's, providing services in a government-supported space, there's always
going to be a change.
Regulations might change. Program might get scrapped. There's always these.
So you're always going to be thinking, you've always kind of got to be thinking one step ahead. And I think the really important thing to mention with NDIS, and we run we're part of CoCo Support Services is part of a larger initiative called the Provider Collective that's run by an NDIS consultant in Sydney. Her name is Tanya Gomez. She's amazing. So we run these free provider workshops for all NDIS providers out there. We run them in Geelong, but they're all across Melbourne. So if anyone ever wants any information, they can ping me or whatever.
Yeah.
But these things are great because we share all of this knowledge and there's always a guest speaker, and we share about when it's kind of our turn to speak. We have a segment on finding your niche.
Okay.
And finding your niche is so important in any business because you can't be everything to everyone.
No.
And this is where I feel like a lot of businesses get stuck because you're stretching yourself, especially in the early days. When we started CoCo Support Services, we thought, we'll do a day program and we'll do this and then we'll open up this. And we're like, you know what? We're really good at providing a boutique service.
Yeah.
That's our lane. We stay in it. Yeah. We do it really, really well.
Yeah.
I know.
But I think every small business will
go hard.
Yeah, we'll recognise that feeling of I just need to get whatever I can.
I need to get whatever I can.
Just get busy. We'll work out what we're good at later. You know. But no, obviously in this space, it's very important to be good at what you do and do what you do.
You're looking after people.
Yeah.
It's not your product is a human being.
Correct. Yeah.
So you need to take a lot of care, And, even with my recruitment business, I've worked across a number of different sectors in my time. But now, I stick to health. I get approached by so many, can you help me find this people? And, listen, I don't advertise that I do it, but I'll always try and help, but not at, the cost to everything else being jeopardized.
Yeah.
So, that's been a really key thing for me in the last couple of years, learning to say no and having really strong boundaries.
Yeah.
I don't have to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
I need to look after my mental health too.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I've got I've got my son too, so he needs me, so I can't be overstretched.
Correct. Yeah, no, very good. And just in terms of, I guess maybe last question on the recruitment space, how important is matching personalities almost in a way? Because every business owner is a bit different. Maybe they have a different way of running their business. How do how important is it to you to really get to understand the personalities in the business before you start finding the right person for that business?
So important. I want to know. I want to know what time you go to bed. I want to know what you do. I want to know what football team you follow. I want to know what soccer team you follow. I want to know what you were doing before you opened this business. I want to know your sense of humor.
Yeah.
I know everything.
Yeah.
It's attention to detail in that respect is so important for me.
Yeah.
So then, and this does make it hard, you know what I mean? Because if it's not a match, it's not going to work.
No.
And this is what I mean. Sometimes organizations will know this, but like I just mentioned before, hiring out of desperation.
Yeah.
We've all done it. I've done it.
Yeah.
We've all done it before, and it ends in disaster. You're better off taking the time, sometimes spending the money to get a professional plug.
Yeah.
No, to do that because it's not everyone's strength.
No, it's not. Yeah.
And I guess that's being a business owner, a manager, or being in a decision-making position in your business. It's about identifying that you, as the decision maker, don't have to be good at everything. You need to be able to identify, that person's good at recruitment, they can read people. That person's good at marketing, that's a good business development manager. And because the wrong people in your business will tear your business down.
Yeah.
That can destroy a business.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're never going to get it right. I don't even get it right all of the time. But my job is to be able to take the time to understand you and to understand the individuals and people, and life happens.
Yeah.
I hired someone recently. She was amazing. She was amazing. she was in the job for 4 months. Family member passed away overseas and she had to go.
Yeah.
She had to leave. These things happen, but there's a solution, you know, there's a solution. So, but it is very, very important.
No, perfect. All right. Well, we'll wrap up with our usual Moonee Valley favourites. Yeah. So what's your favourite cup of coffee or your favourite cafe in the area?
Favourite cafe? I love Tin Roof.
Yeah?
I love Tin Roof. I'm a Killer Road girl.
Yeah, Killer Road. Plenty of favourites on Killer Road.
Plenty of favourites on Killer Road. Yeah,
and Tin Roof's really stood the test of time.
It really has.
You used to go there with the boys back in high school days.
I love it. And you know what? Coming back after being in Geelong for 4 years, you know, and then coming back, I'm like, all the same. It feels like home.
Yeah.
Nothing's changed. I love it. It's got better. They've got pistachio creme brulee now. Yum.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Go Tin Roof.
Go Tin Roof. I was going to ask favourite dinner spot, but were you going to say
Two Fat Greeks. No, I love Tin Roof, but I love Greek.
Two Fat Greeks is
man,
very
you can't.
Good shout. Yeah.
I'm not a fancy fine dining type of girl.
Yeah.
So I love my.
What's your go-to at Two Fat Greeks?
Suv.
Yeah.
Any Suv with chips.
Suv with chips.
I'm very simple.
Can't beat it.
You can't beat it. I'm going to tell you something a bit more interesting.
Yeah. No, fantastic. And I know you've gotten into the local sports scene as well with your boy.
Yes.
We know we've got your son down at Essendon Royals. How's he enjoying that?
He's loving it.
Yeah.
It's been a great club. Very, community-based, beautiful community feel. You know, they've been fantastic. My son's fit right in, you know. We're loving it. Yeah. Right in there. Crazy soccer mum on the sidelines.
You're enjoying all the training. Well, weather's still nice, so maybe
is still nice.
We'll see what it's like on a cold night.
I've been doing it for 4 years, I'm right in there. I've got puffer jackets, I've got beanies, I'm ready to roll.
Beautiful. All right, well, Nat, thank you so much for coming down. For those who want to either learn a bit more about your businesses, yourself, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram. It's at VCJ_recruitment, on LinkedIn, Natalie Piscopo, and on Facebook, VCJ Recruitment. But yeah, like I said, we'll be rebranding, but that will all be through the usual channels.
Beautiful. Well, Nat, thanks so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Moonee Valley Voices. Stay tuned for another episode next week.